Hi, I'm Jacqueline Hellier. Let's talk a little bit about getting in the mood. Because the thing is, for a lot of women, sexual desire isn't this strong, immediate thing like a lot of us think it should be. It's kind of weird when you think about it. I mean, for thousands of years, women weren't supposed to be interested in sex, and there was something wrong with you if you did. And then around about the 70s with the sexual revolution, when we started studying sex in our society, and suddenly there was this thing like, well, women should have a libido like a man, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you. So a lot of women these days think there's something wrong with them because they're not gagging for sex all the time. But the thing is we are actually different to men. And I think it's really important that as women we understand what that difference is, and that it's actually a good thing, not a bad thing. So rather than looking at what Western science has been doing about women's libido, because really the jury's out, no one really understands it, I'd like to look at the way some of the ancient cultures looked at libido and desire. And particularly I'm going to tell you about the ancient Chinese Taoist approach to the whole thing, because I think it's kind of beautiful. It's pretty cool. What they say, and they studied sex as an art and a science for hundreds of years, is that men's sexual energy, we'll start with the men, men's sexual energy is like fire, which means it arouses very quickly, burns very hot, and dies off very quickly. Yeah? Whereas a woman's sexual energy is more like water. So it's slower to heat up, but once it's heated, it can boil and boil and boil and boil and boil and boil, right? So what that's saying is if we divide sex into two parts, men have stronger desire for sex, so their energy coming into the sexual act is stronger, whereas women's sexual response is stronger. Yeah? So that side, we're energetically stronger. And the Taoists go on to say that in fact it's the role of the man and the man's fire energy to arouse the woman and her water energy, so that she creates so much energy that it nurtures both of them. And if we look at modern science, we're discovering a similar kind of thing, in that the better the quality of the sex you have, the more yummy, luscious hormones that get released that are good for you as an individual and good for bonding you with your partner. Okay? So don't feel bad if you don't get aroused quickly like a man. Our bodies are different, the physiology is different. You know, a man can think about sex, which they tend to a lot more than we do. Thinks about sex, up it comes, oh my gosh, got an erection, must want some sex. Now tell me, when was the last time you went, oh, I'm lubricating, must need some sex? We don't work like that. Maybe in the early phases of a relationship when you're really hot and lusting for your partner, yes. But over time, that immediacy of the desire changes. So, my first point to you is to realise that if you don't have a strong libido, that's perfectly okay. So if it's not the physical that's going to drive you to having sex, what is it? And how can you make it happen? I'd like you to think more about the emotional and mental aspects of desire, because those are what are going to get you interested in having sex. And it's in the having sex that the arousal happens. Remember, you go into sex and allow his fire energy to heat up your water energy. But you don't really want to go into the sex act with icy cold water energy. You'd like it to be at least tepid, if not quite warm. So I'd like to look at what's going on before we get to the bedroom. In fact, way before we get to the bedroom. Because in fact, sex can't really be divorced from life. I'm encouraging you here, effectively, to live life as foreplay. Right from the moment that you wake up in the morning, roll over, look at your partner. How are you interacting? Are you interacting in a way that's going to increase the factor in your relationship? Do you look him in the eye and smile warmly and say, morning, darling, and give him a kiss that maybe not a full-on pash, but lingers for a moment? Bit better than a morning, darling, or even a, oh God, I feel like crap, oh, look at the time. Leap out of bed, don't even look at your partner, okay? Those kind of interactions can continue all through the day. They'll make you feel more bonded to your partner, and they'll make you feel a lot better about yourself. Because it's very important that as women, we realise that our arousal and our desire for sex comes from within as much as it does from without. And even the without is about us building that relationship and that ongoing sense of both intimacy and eroticism with our partner. So that as you build that up throughout the day, once the evening comes, and maybe you've had a busy day and you've had to cook dinner and you've had to put the kids to bed, and now you're like exhausted, rather than flopping down in front of the television for a couple of hours and then going to bed and going, oh, I can't be bothered, or in fact pretending you're asleep, or whatever other ruse we women use to get out of having sex because we're not in the mood, use that time to get in the mood. Yeah, play some nice music. You put the kids to bed, you come into the lounge room, play some music, pour some wine, ask him to give you a back rub, spend a little bit of quality time together. And then if you do go up to the bedroom, you'll be much more likely to want to move into some really quite gorgeous lovemaking. Now the choice is yours. You can choose to build up your sense of connection with your partner and your sense of sexuality from within in lots of very small ways throughout the day. Just as easily, you can dampen any fire whatsoever through small acts of neglect. It's your choice, and I encourage you to do the small acts of positive connection because the results are just so worth it.